Yeah, let's just quickly jump into one because I think we spent a lot of time talking about UFC Africa. So let's just quickly talk about Cedric Doumbe before we go rapid. So this is a question from our Patreon listeners or Patreon supporters. Actually, we have a name for our Patreon people. It's called the African Gang. If you'd want to send questions or you want to be part of the panel here and drop your opinions, pledge $5 on Patreon Gang. Be part of the gang, and we could answer your questions here. We could answer. You could suggest segments you want us to do, or you could come here and we can hear your opinions about whatever topic you're passionate about. Yeah. So this is one from the Patreon, and this is Christopher Graham. By the way, Christopher Graham asked suggested a lot of questions, which we saved some that we can discuss in the future. And this is one of them. So he said, did Cedric Doumbe make a mistake not signing with the UFC? A lot of people here will be wondering, who the heck is Cedric Doumbe? All right, guys. Cedric Doumbe is one of the, I would say, one of the legends in kickboxing. You see what Izzy was to kickboxing. Izzy is not what Cedric Doumbe was to kickboxing. Izzy is not close to what Cedric Doumbe was. Even Alex, yeah. So imagine an Alex Pereira in the middleweights, in the welterweight. Sorry, that's what Cedric Doumbe is. Cedric Doumbe is started his pro MMA career, I think, last year, and he has fought a few. But there was a fight card in the UFC in Paris, the first UFC Paris. He was supposed to be on that card, but apparently, according to him, he was misdiagnosed. He was misdiagnosed by the doctors, and then the UFC had to take him off it. And then that's how his UFC contract just went away. And then when PFL started spreading money everywhere, started looking for talents everywhere, they reached out to Cedric Doumbe. Cedric Doumbe is from Cameroon, just like Francis Ngannou is. They literally got announced almost the same time. No, not necessarily almost the same time, but Cedric Doumbe came earlier. So Cedric Doumbe, according to him, in an interview with Ariel Helwani, he said that he is making 10 times more than what the UFC offered him with the PFL. So basically everybody is thinking PFL is like the Saudi Arabia of MMA. You know what Saudi Arabia is to football, right? Where you go get the big bucks, right? So Cedric Doumbe now, what people are saying or what people are thinking is like the competition in the PFL is too small for him. He needs to come and fight with the big boys because his striking is impeccable. Cedric Doumbe himself, outside of MMA, is already a big star in France. He's a comedian. He's got shows. He's on Netflix. He was on Joe freaking Rogan, which is the biggest podcast in the world. So that's how huge of a deal he is, if in case you don't know. So now the question is, do you think that Cedric Doumbe did a mistake not signing with the UFC? Mayowa, do you want to take this first?
Happily. You guys manage fighters, right? So I think a lot of times we get caught up in matchups, right? Oh, you know, how this guy match up against that guy, and how that excites us as fans. Imagine Usman and Doumbe, how would that be? If you're a fighter, you have to go where they pay you more money. You have a short career, you got to get your money and go out. Why would I be in the UFC to make less when I can go to the PFL, get paid more per fight, and get a chance to win $1 million, and I'm fighting lesser fighters? It's a no-brainer. And guess what? This is a guy that is still improving. Remember, this guy is still improving. This is not a guy that is like a like a great MMA fighter yet. Kickboxer, still transitioning to MMA. I think he's 5-0, something like that, right? He still needs to get his feet wet, right? Go to the PFL, try to compete for 2-3 years, win the $1 million if you can, secure your future. Guess what's going to still be there for you? UFC is still going to be there. Justin Gaethje made his name in the PFL for a long time, to the point where when he came to the UFC, his first fight was, I think it was the main event or co-main event. Just Gaethje had 2 of his first UFC fights as main events, right? And that's what you want to do. So the UFC is probably seeing him as someone that is, even though he's a great kickboxer, is unproven, right? Remember, Izzy should have signed with the UFC in 2016 or 2014. Izzy said, no, I will take my time. build myself up a little bit more. So when I come to the UFC, they will speed me up. I'll get straight to the title and I can move from there, right? I think Cedric can do the same exact thing where it's like, you know what, I'm going to do the PFL, build my brand ability, let MMA guys, because even though he's a great kickboxer, MMA people don't know him as well. And it's crazy because Cedric is a guy that is going to be a great seller in the UFC. Like his mouth is so sharp, he talks about trash. Man, he's a fun guy.
Yeah.
So I think he needs to do that.
Yeah, speaking
on the PFL stage a little bit more, and then the UFC needs to be there for him. It's a great move for me.
Yeah, so what I'm going to say is, before I send it to you, Toby, I think he needs to, that trash talking, right? He needs to get the American market to know him. Because, again, he is very, very popular in Europe.
Boy,
he's popular. Heckin' popular. He's popular. He popular in the Netherlands. In the Netherlands, where kickboxing is crazy, right? He cannot walk outside without people knowing him. In France, the same thing. But like in America, obviously, he'll be a regular fool there. Right, so now him in the PFL, he needs to make noise, bro. He needs to make noise. He needs to cross over that pop culture. That is where the money is. And I think with a few performances, striking performances in PFL, and him talking his shit, he's going to make a lot of name. Speaking about PFL, before I send it to you, Toby, Cedric Doumbe had his first fight that was supposed to happen, I think, this month, but it got scrapped because he was injured. And his next fight is in September, 30th of September. 30th of September, Cedric Doumbe is going to be the main event in PFL Europe playoffs in Paris on September 30th at the Zenit Paris La Villette. Widely regarded as one of the best welterweights in the world, the 30-year-old French-based superstar, I would rather say Cameroonian French-based superstar, and former Glory kickboxing champion, will now be looking to add to his incredible 75 professional wins, 45 by KO, as he makes his hugely anticipated debut for the PFL. Yeah, so Cedric Doumbe, bro, I think I was going to throw this to Toby, but Toby has connection issues and has left. I'm going to enter the comment section. We've got MMA Squad is here. What's up, MMA Squad? We've got Simon UG say the PFL is the new UFC. Ngannou changed the game forever. You bet, Simon, you bet. Waiting for PFL Africa to happen. And Toby is back. All right, Toby. Before I was going to leave this topic, but before I go, you tell me about what's your opinion? Did Cedric Doumbe make a mistake not signing with the UFC?
I agree with what most of what Mayowa said. I think he said it all. How can you make a mistake by choosing to secure your future and your family's future? I mean, come on. They are all fighting for money, to get a payday. So you can't go wrong by doing that. And obviously, he's still young enough to still be in the UFC in the future if he wants to. Obviously, if he does very well in the PFL, he comes into the UFC with a bit of pedigree, which helps him, negotiating for big contracts as well. So I think it's the perfect route for him. It's the way it aligned for him. And also, it's not like he really even turned down the UFC. It's just how circumstances, occurred during his own time. So I think that was the best decision he could have made. Go get your money.
I don't want us to cross that 1 hour mark. We're almost crossing 1 hour. So quick one before we go. Because most of his promos are in French, it doesn't cross over to the MMA community or MMA media. But there were a lot of times he was calling out Kamaru Usman. There were times that Kamaru Usman, he don't talk about knocking Kamaru Usman out so many times. And Kamaru Usman was asked about it, and Kamaru Usman kind of was like, the bro matter, African brother. But bro, Cedric Doumbe is not having any of it. But yeah,
even Izzy, right? Even Izzy too. He's talking, bro. He doesn't care.